All right, guys, we're back. It's another episode of the Fearless Pursuit of Freedom podcast, and today's guest is a local entrepreneur. And it's been a while since I've had a female on the show, so I'm super excited. And me and Ashley love you, so I'd like to welcome you to Nancy Laabs out of the DFW area.
Hey, Brandon, thanks so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited to be here, and I'm glad to hear you haven't had a female on for a while.
It's been a long time, yeah.
About the real estate investing as a woman, so.
Yeah, that's awesome. I know Ashley's excited too, because you've got the investor thing going on, and then you'd mentioned another meeting you're possibly doing for other females.
Yeah, so we're doing, I actually host a couple, so I have a meetup that you and Ashley came to talk at last month. It's the North DFW RIA meetup. We meet on Wednesdays, the first Wednesday of every month at Mi Casina. Then what I'm really excited about is I launched the Invest Her community meetup. And I was contacted by a gal, Liz Faircloth out of Philadelphia, and they actually have 25 chapters in the U.S., and they didn't have anybody for Dallas. So they asked me if I'd be interested in hosting, and I was like, yes. And what's exciting about this is that we had our first meeting in May. So we meet the first Monday of every month at the Quest Trust offices off of around Beltline and Montfort. And you know what? This is like a mastermind. That's how we're running it. There's a small fee to come to our events, like $10, but the money is actually being donated to Habitat for Humanity. But you know what? We've had 2 meetings. Great feedback. I mean, some of the comments I've gotten from the women, stellar meeting. We're actually, I'll just give you an example of how we work. So we really haven't had any speakers come in. It's myself, Haley Gant, Kristen Gerst, who's, Miss Note Queen, Capital Mortgage, Kelsey Wallace, who happens to be my daughter, and she's a fledgling new real estate investor. So we're really excited. And what we did is we have it's a 2-hour working meetup group. So we literally got people out of their comfort zones. We created an email drip campaign. What we do is we take problems and obstacles that are getting in people's way about growing their business. And we break up into small groups, we come up with different solutions, and then we come back together to share that. So we had an Instagram, like how to use Instagram in your business and we literally had people get their phones out because about half the group didn't have an Instagram account. We walked them through how to put it on there. Then the second hour is when we all came together and we created an email drip campaign that people could literally walk away with and start using in their business the next day. It's awesome.
No, that sounds great. I mean, I know you're doing Instagram better than I am. And I've had it for 5 or something years. And
well, you know what? It's kind of one of those things that I have to say, my daughter, she's in her 20s, and, she helps me a lot. But I ended up hiring a branding / social media person. And so, I don't know if this is let the secret out of the bag, but she said, you need to post every Wednesday at 1:00. That's she researched the time when you can get the most people or whatever. Mm-hmm. So my goal is not to be, out on social media, but, deals come from networking.
Yep.
We're going to talk about the training space. And, I just want to get the word out about women real estate investors, because when you go to conferences, and I know I've seen you there, there's not very many women up there on that stage. It's always a lot of men. If there is, they're usually talking about marketing, but you don't, and there's tons, hundreds of successful women real estate investors. So I think that, we just need to have a bigger voice. And I'm not sure why that happened. I came from corporate America 20 years ago, but I'm, and so kind of the same issues, but it's like, come on, gals, let's be more vocal. Let's get out there and let's, Ashley, she's doing a great job getting out there. Kristen, all the gals. I know we're going to talk about the book here in a second, but that's kind of why, I wrote the book.
Yeah. Well, speaking of females and your book, Jamie's is helped you with the book, correct?
Yes, she is. And she's I want to grow up and be just like her someday. So
Jamie's killing it.
She is a rock star. So I'm going to show the audience it's winning deals and heels. And you know what? It's about women real estate investors. And there's 10 of us in the book. And you know what? That's just a small fraction of the people who are successful out there in real estate investing. I could have had like 200. And what was really cool about it is when I first started the project, I talked to Kristen Gerst. And for those of you who don't know Kristen, she's a rock star. She's an Oak Queen, Capricorn Mortgage. And she was the first person that I actually sat down and talked to about the book and women real estate investors.
Mm-hmm.
And it started out with the differences between men and women. But you know what? That was just too broad, because if you've ever been in corporate or whatever, there are some differences. We just sometimes don't talk about it. But kind of the inspiration for the book was for women who are, maybe they're looking for second income, maybe their children are grown, maybe they're retired, they're, looking for a new career, or maybe they just watch too much HGTV. And so I wanted to write a book that was real, like real women who didn't have a real estate background, and but they had a passion, and yeah, I used to watch HGTV too. And now I love watching those shows, because I was like, oh my gosh, you did not make that much money, because they always leave out a few things. And I flipped a few houses in my time, and I'm telling you, if a camera crew showed up there, I would not be looking stellar.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then each woman in the book, they have their own story of how they started. But I did not know Jamie, and so she actually was the last person, not the by far the least person, but someone said you should interview her. And it was actually Ryan Harper who put me together with her from Propelio. And I texted her, and she's a busy gal, right? And I texted her, and she got right back to me, set it up for the next week. Boom, she's in the book. And I had not met her. And what was really, really very exhilarating for me was I got to talk individually to all these very successful women, and I learned something from every single one of them. So it's kind of another form of networking for me. But oh my gosh! And then after the book came out, about 2 weeks after the book came out, it hit the bestsellers list. But we had a group book signing, because part of the proceeds from the book benefit Hope's Door here in Plano, Texas, which Hope's Door is a nonprofit organization that helps families heal from domestic violence.
Mm-hmm.
So they were having an event. We basically said, hey, can we come? And we got 8 of the 10 gals there for a group book signing. It was awesome. So people got to meet the people in the book, get a signed autographed copy, and give back to the community. So it was really awesome.
That's awesome for sure.
Yeah. So we were very excited to do that. So hopefully, I've been asked, can I do book 2? I don't know. I got some other things on my plate, so I don't know if I'll get around to book 2.
Yeah, I don't think I'll ever write a book. It just sounds like a lot of time, and
it was a year in the making. In the making. So yeah, it was a lot. It was a lot of time.
Mm-hmm. All right, so let's rewind time a little bit, and let's tell everybody who Nancy is and how she got into real estate. Because currently, you're in the single family world, as I am, correct?
Yes.
Okay, so I know you're doing, from what I see on Instagram, that you're doing flips and rentals, and you're getting a lot of your private capital from Quest accounts. So how long have you been in the business, and how and why did you start? Because you were in corporate at one point.
I was in corporate. So a few years ago, I've always had an interest in real estate and loved when those shows came on. So I used to be a blood banking management consultant. I've traveled all over the U.S., Canada, even did a stint in England, and I helped blood banks become more efficient in collecting blood donations. So I've always been, writing training manuals, coaching people about how they can, have better leadership skills and whatnot. So we lived in Phoenix, Arizona, and I think the year was 2005, so a few years ago. And when the housing market just started taking off there, we had been in our house for about 8 years. So I had worked for this company for not quite 10 years. And I mean, the housing market was just insane. Like in our own neighborhood, we had lived in our house for 8 years. We bought it, right. And I had no real estate background at the time.
Mm-hmm.
None. I just said, oh my gosh, look at houses started flipping in our neighborhood. We started going to open houses. And I was like, I cannot believe what people are paying for these houses. I mean, seriously, $150 homes going for $350,000, $400,000. That's how crazy it was. So you know what we did, Brandon? We just took a leap of faith. We literally put our house on the market. And the thing is, you couldn't buy for what we had. We had a 2-story, 5-bedroom, 3.5 bath house with a half basement. We could not afford that, in the Phoenix market. So we put our house on the market. It sold in 2 days, multiple offers. We quit our job and we moved to Texas. And you know what I say? I didn't know anything about real estate. I just said, hey, you know what? I was greedy because I saw how much money we could make.
Mm-hmm.
When you homestead your home, you don't pay taxes on that. So, and the reason we picked Texas is I'm from Kansas and my husband's from Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
So Texas was kind of a meeting point, if you will.
Yeah.
We knew one family here and we just uprooted. And I said, you know what? You can get a job anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And that was how we were able to start our real estate career because we just took advantage of the market there. And when we moved to Texas, it hadn't really escalated like it did in Phoenix. And I'm telling you, we sold our house in July of 2005. The very next month, boom, the market started crashing. And again, when I tell this story, it's not like I didn't know anything about real estate investing. Yeah. I mean, I just said, hey, you know what? We can make a lot of money. Let's do it. And I knew my husband and I both had skills that could go anywhere. So I wasn't worried about finding a job.
Mm-hmm.
So that was actually the first time in my life that I was able to just kind of sit back and go, you know what? What do I want to do? What do I want to do? And I was like, I've always wanted to flip houses. So through a networking event, I met this gal who I really wanted to mentor. She was a big time investor here in the Dallas area. And she said, you know what? You don't have any real estate background. I'm not going to work with you. And she handed me Gary Keller's $1 Million How to Become a Millionaire Real Estate Investor. And she said, after you've read that, come back to me and we'll talk. So I read that book in like a day and a half. And to this day, that's still when I buy rentals, that is kind of my Bible. It's very, he lays it out, 3-2-2s, and all of that. And I still use that as a Bible for my rentals. Anyway, I read the book, went back to her. She sold me my first rental house. And I talked her into letting me come and work in her office. So she was a broker. And then I really was wanting to know about property management. And so I thought, and she's like, I don't want to hire you. And it's kind of a funny story because I had no background. I knew a management consulting. I'd had, made oodles of money doing all of that. And so I said, you know what, let me come and work for you for free. Let me just show you what I can do. Anyway, so that kind of started a partnership and mentoring that lasted about 9.5 years.
Really?
And he taught me everything about property management, investing, and all of that. Unfortunately, she passed away, and that kind of ended the partnership. So in 2016, I said, you know what, I'm going to do this real estate investing full time because I was mostly in property management at the time. And, when you do buy and holds, I only knew one way to buy houses, and that was like save up your money, go to the bank, put the 20-25% down.
Yeah.
So in 2016, I said, okay, I'm going to go, I'm going to start flipping and I'm going to start, all of these other strategies because I really only knew one strategy. So marketing was a real challenge for me.
Yeah.
I literally fell down the first 6. I was like, okay, how hard can this be? And it's hard. And at that time now, Dallas is a very competitive market or whatnot. So after some trial and errors of what works, yellow letters, postcards, blah, 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 we finally stumbled upon, I like postcards and I like cold calling. Mm-hmm. So I've developed a process where I use VAs to do cold calling that kind of follows up with, my direct mail marketing or whatever. So, but I'm telling the audience here, the first year I said, whoa, I made like 13 grand, you know what I mean? I was not killing it at all,
mm-hmm.
But it's trial and error, I have my rentals or whatever. Well, then then I started doing flips. and learned a lot about contractors. Now, with property management, I already had all that experience about, a lot of, I don't know how to fix air conditioners, but I know what stuff costs. So
Right.
that really helped me when I started doing flips. Then I stumbled into my first owner finance deal. I actually went to a class taught by Kristen Gers, and I went home and I just did everything she said. And I got my first owner finance deal, paid $10,000 for a house over in Fort Worth, and I owner financed for 50. I was hooked. So I love owner financing, buying distressed properties, because with those, you don't have to really fix them up as much as a flip. So, you don't have as much capital in them and whatnot. So that's kind of my story in a nutshell. It's a lot. So
No,
I just,
that's
leaps of faith. And, I'm a big believer in things always happen for a reason. And I always try to listen to messages from the universe, that you'll get messages. You just kind of need to calm yourself, and I know, like, I'm just going to do a shout out to you, Brandon, because I think I met you a couple years ago, like on a cruise, and you and Ashley, you're rocking it too. And I love the flying thing, because I bet that's very calming when you're up in the air. And I'm like, oh, now that's a goal I have too, is to learn to fly.
Yeah. I love it up there because, I don't want any distractions. So I leave my phone in my backpack in the back seat, and then my watch that alerts me, I don't wear it. So I have no outside distractions. And when you're in the air, you don't want to think about anything else aside from what you're looking at, because it's a different perspective flying at 1,500 or 3,500 feet versus
and it must be just so
34,000.
calming,
Yeah.
I mean, you get over the fear of like, okay, I hope I don't crash or anything like that. So,
Right.
no, so we've had, I feel very, well, one of the things I'm very strong about is being a mentor, because I had a great mentor, and she taught me everything she knew. And I try to give back in her memory, because, she was instrumental in helping me not make, it's not that I did everything perfect, but I didn't lose money. You know what I mean? And so I meet people all the time in this industry, I'm sure you do too, that they get emotional about their, that's probably the biggest thing she taught me, is don't be emotional about your real estate investing, because when you get emotional, that's when you make mistakes, and those mistakes can be very, very costly. So I try to give back to people in that, not that I know everything, but hey, you know what, I've learned a trick or two over the years. So I've been investing now for, 15, almost 20 years. It's been a while. So, and it's interesting. I've been in 2 different markets to see how people react to, I mean, there's just a lot of greed going on when people were refinancing their house and taking the money and, and spending it not on real estate. We had several friends that got caught up in the Phoenix market, where they did take out the money. And then when the market crashed, they found themselves with a property that, they were completely upside down on. So,
Yeah, no, that Phoenix got hit pretty hard.
And you know what? We did it. It's, again, we were fortunate. I think, God was just looking out for us, because we didn't know anything. We said, oh, you know what? This is how much people will pay for our house. And when I think back to that, I mean, because we sold our house, moved to Texas, all like within a 2.5 week period. It was crazy. And it's just, I just look back on it, I was like, dang, that was just one of those things that we did. And I can only say it was a leap of faith. So, you can hear my friend back here. So, but yeah, it was, I'm really happy that we did it. It's one of the best things I've ever done. And my husband, if you ask my husband, Brian, it was like, yeah, it was a pretty nerve-wracking time, but it was actually, it propelled us to where we are today. So, and I think it also gave us a core strength that, when you make a major move like that, the getting into real estate didn't seem so scary. So, and I know not everybody has that ability, but, sometimes when you see those opportunities, you got to take it.
Yeah. No, it's similar. I mean, sometimes it takes those giant, massive things or changes in your life to make you realize that there's something more important or more valuable outside of your little bubble. And I'm a believer in it. 2015, same deal. I packed up everything and left and came to Texas as well. And pretty much just almost quite literally dropped everything, sold my business, everything. So same deal for me.
Yeah, and sometimes you have to have faith in yourself, just that, that you can do it. Because I always think jobs, people, well, we can talk about people getting stuck in their jobs and being 9 to 5. Now, I'm not telling anybody just to go out there and quit their job and jump into real estate. But, a lot of people that I meet are working a 9 to 5 job, and they want that financial freedom that comes with, being a real estate investor. But I would never encourage anyone just to quit their job and start into real estate investing if you're completely brand new, because, there's a learning curve just like anything. And, I think, kind of going back to the book, some of the core themes in the book are persistence, a passion for real estate investing, and just never giving up, but also finding a mentor. And so I always say, and you don't have to spend, I've spent some money on courses and whatever, and you don't have to do that. There's so much information out there online that you can at least get started. And again, I'm going to give Gary's book a plug, because if you want to get into having buy and holds, Dallas is probably not the best market for that right now, but it gives you an idea of what you should be looking for, because you can build wealth through, a number of ways for real estate investing, and buy and hold's just one of them. So, and I think that's what I love about this business, is that you never know. Like, I wake up and I don't have the same day every day. You know what I mean? Like, I'm going to go look at a house today, bring in a contractor, and, it's a total gut. But how much the seller wants, I don't know if we're going to be able to do it. Maybe he'll redo it himself. But there's just so many options that you have in this business, that's what I love about it.
Yeah. Almost quite literally every day is different.
Yes.
And it doesn't become monotonous. And
exactly.
unless you're doing your own marketing, but then you got to learn to outsource that.
Exactly. So, and marketing is one of those. I don't have a marketing background. So I have people on my team that help me. And, we were talking about the Instagram. Yeah. It's not that I knew that. I got people telling me what to do. You know what I mean? So it's, but you can't know everything, right? You can't be all things to all people. So I always tell people, sometimes you got to walk away from a deal, because you just can't be, everything to everyone. I'm a real estate broker. I know you're a realtor as well. And, I don't do too much of the traditional, list your house, buyer's agent stuff. There's other people that are better at that than I am. So can I do it? Yes, but I'm not the best. So I would go higher. But, if you have a distressed house that you need to sell, I'm going to be your gal. So.
Yeah. Same deal. I still hold my license, got a small team, but any leads that come in for the retail side just goes to them.
So, yep. But, and then, but that's what I love about this business, the number of people that you meet, like, you and I met, there's just so many great people out there, and they'll help you. You just got to reach out to them. And, we've worked on refining what works, because I think, when people get into it, and you'll, like yellow letters, I'm sure everybody knows what those are. And, I've done the whole door knocking and writing stuff by hand. And then you go, you know what? This is not a way to scale my business. I can't be writing letters, and I can't be door knocking. How do I scale my business if I'm doing all those things? So I looked at all of the things that could be outsourced. And you know what? I'm not the best door knocker. I'd rather have someone go do it. I don't even like it. So, but it's good experience. I think before you can take that next step, that you do have to know at least how to do it, right? So I've been out there door knocking in some neighborhoods that, I should have been carrying. I've gone by myself. I've gone dressed up, not dressed up, wearing a beanie on my head. And I'll just tell you this, I never got a deal door knocking. I don't know if I just didn't stay with it long enough. But okay, this isn't working for me. But I know how to do it, right? And we started, really when everything, networking is the biggest place I probably get my deals. And then direct marketing, followed up by the cold calling. Love that. That's because you've got the multiple touches going on.
Right. Yeah. You would never catch me door knocking. The only time I've ever door knocked is when I was a full-time realtor. I was doing open houses a lot. And I had a lender come with me, and he was like, let's go door knock all the neighbors to let them know. I'm like, no, No, not a million, but we did it anyways. And I was like, nope, that's the last time I'm ever doing that.
Well, even if you think about your own personal house, like if somebody comes to my door,
Mm-hmm.
I rarely open the door if I don't know who it is. So I don't know. I mean, I've heard horror stories of people, I think it's kind of a dangerous time to be door knocking. I've heard of people, guns being pulled on them and,
Mm-hmm.
getting bit by dogs. And, I mean, think about it. Somebody's in a very distressed situation. They're probably, not in the best frame of mind as far as, positivity and that kind of thing. And then you're kind of just putting yourself in I don't know, a situation. And that some people are great at it. Some people really are killing it doing door knocking, and more power to them. I just know
Mm-hmm.
that, again, I'm not that kind of person either, Brandon. So,
Yeah, not going to be me. So out of the roughly three strategies, your rentals, flipping, and owner finance, I assume it's probably going to lead to notes if it hasn't already. What's your favorite avenue of investing, you think?
so right now, and you're right, I'm moving into the note space. So Kristen is actually awesome. She's helping me kind of structure my owner finance deals so that I can, sell them off if I want to.
Yep.
And I've gone to a couple seminars on it, so I haven't sold any yet, but I'm learning how to structure them because there's a way, it's the underlying mortgage, how you buy it. Now, the one that I was talking about that was 10,000. So
Mm-hmm.
that one don't ever plan on selling because the terms for buying it at 10, selling at 50 was 20% down, 10% interest. So when they gave down the $10,000 down, that made me whole. So I'm literally collecting a check for the next 15 years on a property that I paid. I mean, the ROI on it's like, I don't know, 136% or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And we did it through my IRA.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah, yay. And then other properties, it really goes back to how you buy them. So I do like owner financing because I love the idea that they're paying the taxes and insurance and I don't have to do the property. We do put them through the RMLO process,
Mm-hmm.
vet them. And then we try to structure the notes. So there's a first and second. I learned this little tip where you sell off the first and you keep the second. So it's a smaller, you're in second lien position, but you write the papers so that if for some reason the first lien person has to foreclose, you have the opportunity to, buy it back from the first person. So you're still in control, if you will.
Yeah.
We haven't actually done that. We've set up two of our notes to actually sell them. We're just waiting for them to be seasoned because owner financing, I've only been doing it for a little over a year. And I just love it as a strategy. So I think the hardest part is how you buy the property and getting the underlying mortgage taken care of. We buy subject to, and but sometimes they take a little bit longer to
Mm-hmm.
work everything out.
Yeah. So your subject twos, are you doing subject to rent or to wrap?
To wrap. So so what we do is, depending on how we're buying it, for example, I help people that have small dollar IRAs. I coordinate them. It's not a syndication because I get asked this all the time. So what I do is I have a group of people that they have small dollar IRAs, $50,000 or less.
Mm-hmm.
So for example, I got a property subject to, I needed $8,000 for the reinstatement and closing costs. So I knew two people that one had five, one had $3,000 in their different IRAs.
Yep.
And I went to them and I said, hey, you guys want to, loan me the money? They were happy to do it because they are getting, typically we pay like 2 points, 10% interest. And they were happy to do it. Now they're in second lien position, but they were okay with it because a lot of that coordinating of the small dollar IRAs to help them grow it has to do with relationships. And they know me, they trust me. I have a track record of, paying people back when I or borrowed the private money. So they felt comfortable with that. So their two small dollar IRAs helped me buy this property. I mean, and we'll pay them off in 6 months because we sold the house. So.
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great.
Because that's how you do it. What you do is we kept the underlying mortgage, but then when we got the down payment, we paid them back.
Yeah.
And then we still have the underlying mortgage. But then we structure it so that we can, if we need to or want to, we can sell the first, and then that'll pay off original mortgage, if that makes sense. So.
Yeah. No, that's great. I've heard of the 2-note structure. Well, that's originally how Walter was doing it, but he had never done a subject to in that manner. But it makes a lot of sense in your position if you're doing a subject to get rid of that first note in case there's ever an issue with the originating lender.
Exactly. And kind of what, this goes back to the mentoring. So Kristen, I'm just going to keep saying her name because, I didn't really understand that when you start getting into notes and, the wraps, and it can get complicated. So so she's been mentoring me, so to speak, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like she's just said, hey, I want to do this. And she's been most gracious with her time. And the other thing is I have a great title company that is investor friendly and understands the the paperwork that you need to make these deals happen. I've done deals where we've taken my IRA money and other people's IRA money and been private money lenders. And had I not known what the paperwork should have been, because it was a title company that wasn't familiar with the type of paperwork that you need to do, it would have been in a world of hurt. So you do have to be careful when you're using your IRA for private money lending. It can be done and it's a great way to, earn money and tax deferred and all that. But you have to make sure if you're going to be doing that you're working with a title company that understands how to paper it up, if that makes sense. So
yeah, no, that's great advice. Because a lot of people that are lending through their IRAs haven't ever done it or do it in multiple different creative strategies, and so everyone's written differently. A simple loan, as if they were or as in the first lien position, is way different than the second lien position.
Right. Yeah. So most of the people that I work with, so we have a group of people that they, like I said, they have a IRA, and it could be like I always say Cloverleaf, but it's actually Cloverdale, HSA, any type of IRA. We only work with those that are at Quest Trust Company because Quest, I actually went to a few of their lunch and learns and learned how to, I heard Nate Keir speak, that's the executive vice president. And I did an interview with Haley Gant on Propelio in regards to how to do this. But I will get asked, people say, oh, you're syndicating, or what about FCC? And I'm like, no, I learned it from Quest. And it's literally just coordinating those people. You know what I mean? Coordinating people. Because if you have $5,000 or $10,000, it's hard to be a private money lender, right?
Yep.
And most people aren't going to take the initiative to go, oh, hey, I have $10,000. You could use it for, an option. So by having a pool of those people, so what happens is the investor will contact me. And first of all, it has to be somebody I would be willing to loan to, right?
Right.
The folks that are participating in this small dollar IRA private money lending, they're doing it because they trust me. They know me. I have the relationship with them.
Yep.
By the same token, even though I say do your own due diligence or whatnot, they usually don't. They're just saying, oh, hey, Nancy, are you going to go in on the deal? Yeah, I'll go in on the deal, blah, blah, blah. So I feel almost an extra responsibility to make sure that, they don't lose their money. That's my first priority. So if they've not ever lent before, then they're always in the first lien position.
Yep.
And once they see how it works, then they're more comfortable with the second lien position. So I've lent second lien. I'm good with that if I know who the investor is. You know what I mean? And the deal, and I vet the deal, and I know how to vet the deal and that kind of thing. But I will have people send me deals. I'm like, yeah, I have to be the bad guy and tell them not only no, but this is not a deal. Don't even do it. It's those new investors that get kind of excited. And one guy sent me a deal, and I was like, he sent me pictures, and he did not have in there. You could literally see that the house was kind of falling down on one side, so some serious foundation issues.
Yeah.
He to the tune of probably about $20,000 or $25,000. Yeah, he didn't include that in his deal, and it was barely 85% of ARV without that. So I had to break the news to him.
Yeah. Well, no, that's great. A lot of people need that because, a lot of people come to me that are new investors, and they're like, "But hard money's so expensive." I'm like, but you think about it, you've got this company, a professional company that's been in real estate for however many X amount of years, and they're looking at your deals, making sure they want to invest in it. So if they tell you it's a bad deal, then they just saved your rear end.
Exactly.
Yeah. And some of them I've never used one that required an appraiser, but pay the freaking money, because now you have another eye on the property telling you whether or not it's going to be cost effective for you to do it, and it makes sense. So I
Yeah,
never
I
understood
totally
that.
agree. Especially when you're first starting out, you just can't, you need to pay the money. Just pay the money to
Mhm.
have peace of mind that you have a good deal. And it's better to pay, $300 or $400 to find out, oops, guess it's not such a good deal, because you know what if it costs you 10, 20, $30,000,
Yeah.
and in all the years that I've been investing, I've made my share of mistakes. Now, last year, I will tell, I didn't do the best on a deal. I got busy. The business started and this is kind of another thing about scaling. I got super busy. I took my eye off of the ball for a nanosecond, and I bought a property without my eyes on it, right? Oh,
Mhm.
big mistake. Because there were things that were, I should have caught, I would have caught, blah, blah, blah. But I got caught up in just, oh, we're doing this. Now, it all worked out, and I didn't lose a ton of money, but, it was the first time ever I came to closing, I came to closing with $500. Okay, sorry. And so the title company, I use them quite a bit, and they were like, you're so quiet today. And I was like, yeah, it doesn't feel good because I had to bring money to the table. You know what I mean? So, I
Yep.
mean, and yes, it was a small amount, but it was a big price to pay as far as, okay, so I had to put some checkpoints in place because we had started the cold calling, and we had done that, and I was getting inundated with leads, which is all good,
Hmm.
but just it kind of goes back to that, you got to kind of stick to the basics. And when you do start growing, you got to stop for a nanosecond and go, okay, how can I take care of this, this, and this? Because the last thing you need is, growing your business, but, behind you, you're, losing your shirt, so to speak. And so we had to kind of stop and go, okay, we need to put some things in place. And that's just how it goes when you're investing. So I feel fortunate that and all the time I've been investing, it wasn't my best moment, but even from those you learn. So
Oh yeah, well you learned a ton there. You restructured your whole business, and thankfully it was only a paper loss rather than a massive check you were writing.
exactly. And I always go, one thing about real estate investing that we don't really talk about. I mean, accountants do and everything, but it's a great way. There's a lot of tax deductions.
Hmm.
Right now, the way you can structure your business. Um, I never go and get traditional loans anymore because, on paper, the way I report everything, we don't make any money, right? I mean, because
Hmm.
there's so many deductions you can take.
Yep.
The other thing I like about owner financing, when you do flips, you're taxed on that money. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And so
Heavily.
it's like you did all this work only to turn around and pay it all out. So on owner financing, it's I believe, I'm not an accountant, but I was asking my accountant about it, and I think you get taxed kind of the same as a flip, but it's over time, so you don't feel the sting as much. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like if you're doing 5 flips and you make 30,000 on each, 150,000. I mean, you're going to pay a significant amount of tax on that. So I
Yeah.
would rather do 5 houses, get the down payment, do the owner financing, and over the long haul, it'll probably equal out, but I get more money in the pocket in that particular year rather than paying it all out. So
Yeah. No, that's great advice. Yeah, the flipping it's mine and Ashley's strategy, as you are aware, but the tax burden is painful.
it is
Man,
painful,
it
especially when you
hurts.
go, man, and I know you've done some really, some pretty serious flips or whatnot. And you're like, at the end of the day, you're like, okay, I got to write over, but it
Yeah.
is what it is. We got to all pay our fair tax. So
Yeah, indeed. Um, so with us, we are not super big fans of flipping anymore. So we kind of are in the midst of changing our strategy. It sounds like you're enjoying what you're doing. What are your future plans with the business?
So we're going to continue to, and I agree with you on flipping. It's competitive. So a couple things we're doing. Number one, we're looking to expand in other markets. There's some really good markets out there that people can invest in that you can still, get a decent house for a good price.
Mm.
Um, and I'm also looking into the training space. So I do a lot of mentoring, and I'm actually developing some training. It's going to be super affordable. about how people can scale. And it's going to have to do with, we talked about my background. So in the blood banking management consultant arena, I was a call center specialist, and that's what I was doing for those blood banks, because if you've ever donated blood and you've been called before, usually I was involved with that with several blood banks across the country. So I'm taking that knowledge and I'm applying it to my cold calling, right? And I came up with KPIs, and part of what I presented at the Financial Friends cruise that we were on is going to be part of that, because it's not just, okay, put people on the phone and let them call. You've got to know how to manage your list. You've got to know how to manage your VAs, track, measure, and all of that. So I have had a lot of people ask me about that. And I thought, well, you know what, I'm going to put something together. So I'm hoping like in the next several months that I'll be able to offer some stuff online. It's going to be from, vetting a VA and how do you get them to be effective in their cold calling and scripts and things like that. So I really want to move into the training space, but it won't be like tens of thousands of dollars. It's going to be affordable. And really kind of what I'm saying is that, hey, I'm putting this out there for you guys so that you can be just as it's successful, because it's pretty easy strategy. But as you know, most people don't know how to get started. How do you vet? I get asked this all the time. How do you vet them? What do you have them do? How do you measure them? You know what I mean? And a lot of people haven't had the management experience that I've had. So I'm bringing that to my real estate investing business and sharing that with other people about, you can do this, and, you can basically have the life you want to, and then they'll pass it on to other people. So I really like the mentoring fact. And I'm hoping that the way I'm structuring it, it'll encourage people to get other people involved in this business too, because I just love it. And I think a lot of people out there, with the popularity of all the flip shows and HGTV and Property Brothers and so on and so forth, the nation is obsessed with, and kind of the world too, because they're all over in the UK and all, they're obsessed with real estate investing and getting the quick buck and blah, blah, blah. So I want to be able to bring something of value to people that they can use to realize those dreams.
Yeah. Well, I think I would say almost every single investor that's ever got in there, whether it doesn't matter what their experience are, is it turns out to be something they didn't expect.
Exactly.
Because you end up running a handful of different companies, because essentially now you're building a marketing company. Now you're building a contracting company. Now you're building a management company. Now you've got the cold calling. So being a solopreneur like myself, it's just me and Ashley. We're wearing all of those hats before we got the VAs who now do our marketing. So now I've relinquished that task. But if you're doing it by yourself, you're literally running 6 different companies in your own head, and you just simply can't do it effectively.
You cannot do it. And, we have a small team. So I have someone that handles the property management side for me. I have an admin that she kind of keeps all my books and stuff, because that's the other thing, the accounting side of it. I mean, that's like a full-time job right there. Yeah. And I do have someone that works out of my office for that, because I haven't relinquished that over to a VA, because I'm kind of a control freak when it comes to my bucks and whatnot. And then you have got to have the VAs, because and then we have some bird dogs, but then it comes down to the whole management, my time. I still meet with sellers. I still try to build my buyers list. That's probably my area where I need, I don't have a humongous buyers list, because, I've been spending all this time doing all this other stuff. And I'm like you, solo. And, it's hard to keep all the hats on. And then when you do start having success in an area, like, like I said, I had to drop back, kind of, rehab. And I think if you're going to be in this business, one thing you have to be is flexible. I mean, I am a control freak. I love being a control freak, but I'm also flexible. I can go from there. I don't have to have a set routine, but I do need to know that business is running profitably and it's being managed well. So that's how I train all the people that work with me. So
yeah, awesome. I don't want to take up too much of your time. So I'll wrap it with the question I ask everybody.
Okay.
And it kind of, I started asking it to bring the people not only within the interview, but the people listening to I guess the here and now of their life. So if you had 6 months to live, what would you do with it?
I would stop doing everything I do. I would spend it with my daughter and my husband, and I would travel the world. And I would be at peace. I would just, I'd probably get a massage every day. But I would definitely spend time with my animals, my daughter, my husband. Those are the most important things in my life. And, without those people, it's not, I do this because it's fun and I love doing it. And, yes, I love helping sellers, but I would not be spending my last days on this earth. I would be spending it with the people that mean the most to me,
Yeah.
and probably trying to get, and this is just because I'm a control freak, I would be wanting to get the rest of my training out so I could leave it as a legacy to everybody that wanted to be in real estate investing, would have a good tool to help them build their business.
Yeah. Awesome. Great answer. I think that I would assume most entrepreneurs got into the entrepreneur space to create some sort of freedom to get that in the long term, whether or not they had a short amount of time to live or not. So, I know that's my goal, get enough passive income through real estate to travel the world with family. And so,
exactly. And have multiple streams. And that's why I like one thing I love about real estate investing is you can pick and choose your multiple streams of income. So you shouldn't just have rentals and you shouldn't just do owner financing. And, there's multiple ways to make money in this business, but the passive long-term is where it's at. You know what I mean? Because like we were talking about, flips, they're kind of like, yes, you can make a lot of money, but, are you going to be able to flip every year for the next, however long you want to do this?
Yeah.
And the answer is no, because, here in Dallas, we both know this, like contractors, it's hard. Flipping is hard here. And when I say hard, I mean finding a deal. It takes time, taxes or whatnot. And I would be rather sitting back, flying my plane, and just know that, I got the direct deposit going on and I've got money coming into my account. So.
Yep, exactly. Okay. So I will tag your Winning Deals and Heels book. I assume there's an Amazon link I can find. So I'll find that. But where can people find you specifically? What's the best place?
They can email me at nancy@kbnhomes.com or just check me out on my website, which is kbnhomes.com. And then if they buy the book, remember, when you buy the book, part of the proceeds go to help Hope Store in Plano, Texas. And all my contact is in there, along with all the contact women of everyone, all the contact of all the women in the book.
Nice. Awesome.
Yeah. So you can always reach out to them as well. So read their story, find out, and you can do this too.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Nancy. Appreciate it.
All right, Brandon. Hey, thanks so much for having me on. Appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.